Hey everyone, and welcome. So we see managers everywhere, right? It's one of the most common job titles on the planet. But if you ever stop to think about what they actually do all day, it's way more complex than it looks. Today we're going to grab that familiar title manager and put it right under the microscope. We're going to break it down from 4 different angles to build a complete 360-degree picture of what it really takes to manage.
So let's just start with that big question. Seriously, what does a manager's day look like? If you ask them, you'll probably get some vague answer about, meetings, emails, putting out fires. Ask their team, and you might get a different perspective. The truth is, the job is this incredible mix of careful planning and just pure chaotic reaction. And to really get our heads around it, we need a few frameworks to help us see it clearly.
All right, our first way of looking at this is kind of like an architect's blueprint. It's the classic foundational view. It says that a manager's job is basically a logical process built on 5 core functions. These are the big picture responsibilities, the fundamental what they are supposed to accomplish. Let's walk through this blueprint. Imagine we're going on a road trip. First up is planning. This is all about deciding the destination and mapping out the route before you even start the car. What's our goal? What's the best way to get there? It's the strategic thinking, the forecasting, and the detailed step-by-step prep work. Next, we've got organizing. This is like building the car for the trip. Once you have a plan, you need a structure. You got to figure out who's doing what, who reports to who. You're essentially building the vehicle, the team structure, the departments, the resources. That's going to get you to your destination. Number 3 is staffing. This is mission critical, getting the right people in the car. An organization is just a bunch of people, right? So staffing is everything from recruiting and hiring the best talent to training them, evaluating how they're doing, and making sure they're happy and compensated fairly. It never stops. Fourth, we have directing, which you might also hear called leading. This is the, okay, let's go moment. It's about turning the key, hitting the gas, and motivating everyone to drive. This is all about communication, supervision, and inspiring your team to actually want to go on this journey with you. And finally, number 5 is controlling. This is you checking the GPS along the way. Are we on track? Are we sticking to the plan? It's about setting standards, measuring your actual progress against those standards, and if you're veering off course, taking corrective action to get back on the right road. It's the feedback loop that makes sure the whole thing works.
Okay, so those 5 functions sound super neat, logical, and orderly, don't they? It makes management sound like this clean, step-by-step process. But if you've ever actually managed a team or been on one, you know that reality is, well, it's a lot messier than that. A manager's day is really a storm of interruptions, quick conversations, and fragmented tasks. So while those functions tell us what a manager is supposed to get done, they don't really capture the chaotic, minute-to-minute reality of how they do it.
So, to get that more realistic boots-on-the-ground picture, we need to switch to our second lens. This comes from the amazing work of a researcher named Henry Mintzberg, and he completely flipped the script. Instead of asking what managers should do, he actually went and watched them to see what they really do. And he found their work wasn't a neat sequence of functions, but a messy, dynamic switching between 10 specific roles. This is the how of management.
First, let's look at the interpersonal roles. This is all about how managers interact with other people. Sometimes they have to be a figurehead. Think of them as the symbol of the team. They're doing the ceremonial stuff, like greeting a VIP or handing out an award. It's about representing the group. Then, of course, they have to be a leader. This is the one we all think about. This is the manager as a coach, motivating the team, creating a positive culture, and making sure everyone's pulling in the same direction. And third, they're a liaison. This is the diplomat role. They're constantly building a network of contacts outside their own team, talking with other managers, clients, or suppliers to make sure everything runs smoothly between groups.
Now, because of all those connections, managers become the nerve center for information. This brings us to the informational roles. As a monitor, they're like a radar, constantly scanning for useful information. They're reading reports, talking to their network, just trying to get the lay of the land. Then they become a disseminator. They take all that important, sometimes private information, and pass it down to their team, making sure everyone has the context they need. And finally, they act as a spokesperson. This is when they broadcast information outwards, speaking for their team to upper management or representing the company to the public.
So you've got the people and you've got the info. Now, what do you do with it all? Well, that leads to the final and most active set of roles, the decisional roles. The manager acts as an entrepreneur, trying to improve the team by initiating change, like launching a new project or finding a better way to work. They also have to be the disturbance handler. This is the firefighter. When an unexpected crisis hits, a key employee quits, a supplier fails, the manager has to drop everything and deal with it. Then there's the resource allocator, which is a huge one. They decide who gets what: the budget, the staff, their own time. This is where a ton of their real power comes from. And lastly, they are the negotiator. They're constantly making deals with vendors, with other departments, with potential new hires. They're the ones who sit down at the table and hammer out agreements.
Okay, so let's connect the dots here, because this is the really important part. These two views, functions and roles, they aren't competing ideas. They are two sides of the very same coin. Think of it like this. The functions are the destination. That's the what we're trying to do. But the 10 roles are the actual driving, the steering, the accelerating, the braking. That's the how you actually get there. You can't perform the function of directing if you're not playing the role of leader. You can't accomplish the function of planning without acting as a monitor and an entrepreneur. See how that works? The big abstract goals are only achieved through these real, tangible, moment-to-moment actions.
All right, so we've got the what and the how. But is the job of a frontline supervisor the same as the CEO's? Obviously not. And that brings us to our third lens, the different levels of management. Because where you are in the company pyramid completely changes the game.
It usually breaks down into this classic pyramid structure. Way up at the top, you've got your top management. These are the strategists, the CEOs, the VPs. They're looking at the whole organization from 30,000 feet. They set the long-term vision and make the big company-wide decisions. Then in the middle, you have middle management. These are your department heads, your regional directors. Their job is absolutely critical. They take the grand strategy from the top and translate it into actual plans and goals for their teams. And down at the foundation, you have lower or supervisory management. These are the coaches on the front lines working directly with the employees every single day to get the work done, solve immediate problems, and ensure everything's running smoothly.
So the key takeaway here is that your level completely changes your focus. A top manager is worried about where the company will be in 5 years. A middle manager is focused on hitting this quarter's targets. A supervisor, they're focused on making sure today's shift goes off without a hitch. It might be the same job title, manager, but they are living in completely different worlds. And that, of course, means they need a different set of tools, a different mix of skills.
And that leads us perfectly to our fourth and final lens. It's one thing to know the functions, roles, and levels, but what does a manager actually need to be good at to pull it all off? It's not just about what you do, but what you're capable of doing.
And really, it all boils down to 3 essential types of skills. First, you've got technical skills. This is knowing your stuff. It's the specific knowledge for the job, like an engineer knowing CAD software or a marketing manager knowing SEO. Next, there are conceptual skills. This is the ability to see the big picture. It's about understanding how all the different parts of the organization fit together into one giant puzzle. And right in the middle, and maybe the most important of all, are human skills. This is pretty simple. It's the ability to work well with other people. It's about communication, motivation, empathy, and teamwork.
Now this, right here, is probably the most powerful visual in this whole breakdown. Look at how the skill mix changes. For that frontline supervisor at the bottom, technical skill is absolutely king. You have to know the work to guide the workers. But look what happens as you climb that ladder. Technical skills become less important, and the need for that big picture, conceptual skill just skyrockets. A CEO's job is almost pure conceptual thinking. But did you notice the one constant? Human skills. That bar is high and thick at every single level. The ability to work with and through people is the one non-negotiable, universal skill of management from day one on the job to the corner office.
So let's put it all together. We just looked at the job of a manager through 4 unique lenses. We started with the 5 functions, which is the what. Then we looked at the 10 roles, which is the how. We layered on the 3 levels, which changed the focus of the job. And we finished with the essential skill mix needed to succeed. You really need to combine all 4 of these perspectives to get the complete high-definition picture of this incredibly complex job.
This quote just nails it, doesn't it? The best managers are absolute chameleons. They have to be a strategist in their morning planning session, a firefighter when a crisis hits for lunch, and a negotiator in an afternoon meeting. They are constantly, fluidly moving between these functions and roles, using different skills as needed. That ability to switch contexts and wear different hats is what really, truly makes a manager great.
And that brings us to one last thing to think about. The world of work is changing fast. With AI automating a lot of the technical stuff and remote work changing how we collaborate, the job of a manager is shifting yet again. So I'll leave you with this question. As we move forward, which of these essential skills, especially those uniquely human skills like leadership, empathy, and real communication, are going to be the ones that separate the good managers from the truly great ones? What do you think?